I'm calling to order the March Good evening. I am calling to order the March 23rd, 2020 Menlo Park Planning Commission. We are doing this by remote. This is the first time we're doing this, and I'm going to be taking roll call by calling each commissioner's name, and if that commissioner would show themselves on webcam, we can pronounce them present. Commissioner Tate.
Commissioner Tate is not able to participate this evening.
Not present. Thank you. So Commissioner Tate is absent. Commissioner Doran. Commissioner Doran is present. Commissioner Riggs.
I'm looking at how to turn on my webcam.
You have a control. There you go. Commissioner Riggs with the naughty pine in back. Present. Commissioner Barnes, myself, present, obviously. Commissioner Kennedy. And Commissioner Riggs, you can video cam yourself now that you've been marked as present. Thank you. Commissioner Kennedy, if you would.
This is Deanna. I believe Commissioner Kennedy is still having some audio difficulties, so maybe we can check in with her in a minute.
Okay. Commissioner DeCardi. Oh, I see Commissioner Kennedy. Sorry. So Commissioner Kennedy is present. Commissioner DeCardi. Commissioner DeCardi is present. Commissioner Kale. Commissioner Kale is present. Good evening. Good evening to all my fellow commissioners. This is a novel time to be doing this, and I'm excited for getting through these important items we have on tonight's agenda and working our way through it. So what we're going to do at this point, having called roll, is Judy Heron, our Judy, you're going to have to tell us what you do. Your official title, we know what you do.
I am the city clerk.
City clerk. Judy Heron, our wonderful city clerk, is going to go through some of the mechanics of the webinar that we're holding tonight. Please.
Thank you, Chair Barnes. Again, I am Judy Heron. I'm the city clerk for Menlo Park. Just going to go over some of the procedures on how we will be handling communicating during this webinar. So for commissioners, if you have a question or comment, we ask that you turn on your webcam and your microphone and ask that question or provide that comment. And the chair will either have the person giving the presentation or himself answer and respond to your question or your comment. Once the response is complete, we ask that you turn your webcam off as well as your microphone. For the duration of the meeting, the chair will remain on with his webcam and on with his mic, and whoever is presenting will also keep their cam and mic on. So again, as a commissioner, if you have a question or a comment, turn your webcam on. The chair will recognize you, and you can then ask your question or comment, get your response, and then you'll turn your webcam off. The chair has also been queued up to ask for public comment. We have received public comment in the form of email, voicemail, and from what I can tell is we do have a few public who have called in as attendees, and we will be able to reach out to those who are calling in and open up your mics at the time of your public comment. So again, the chair will introduce the item. Someone from staff will be giving the presentation or passing that presentation over to an applicant. At the conclusion of the presentation, the chair will open it up to public comment and staff will facilitate the public comment. For commissioners, if you have a question or comment on that item, you will turn on your webcam. You'll ask your question, receive your response, and then turn off your webcam, concluding that question or comment. We do have staff working in the background. Just remember, commissioners, to control your own webcams and your own microphones. And we thank you so very much.
Thank you, Judy. We appreciate that. Moving from there to reports and announcements. Under reports and announcements, staff and commission members may communicate general information of interest regarding matters within the jurisdiction of a commission. No commission discussion or action can occur on any of the presented items. Good evening, Deanna.
Microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Barnes and members of the commission and folks who are participating with us virtually. As Chair Barnes said, this is our first ever virtual meeting, and so please be patient with us. But we are happy to be here with you this evening. So just a couple of items. I just wanted to note the City Council will be conducting 2 meetings this week. One will be tomorrow evening. There will be in closed session, followed by a conversation around policy issues for sheltering the homeless. And then on Thursday evening, there will be another City Council meeting, also done virtually, that will have a number of items. 2 that may be of particular interest to the Planning Commission. One is receiving and accepting the Housing Element Annual Report. So that is something that the Commission saw and recommended for City Council action. That is due up to the State Housing and Community Development Department by April 1st. And then the second item is a modification to the city's tenant relocation assistance program. During these challenging times, we recognize that payment of rent may be of concern, and so the City Council will be considering some modifications to our current ordinance to allow for rental assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Commissioner Doran.
Yeah, can you tell us whether the planning department is open now for applications in the building department? And if so, if they're open in person to receive applications over the counter, or if everything's being done through email or just how that works right now?
Deanna, you need to turn your mic on.
Have a lot of mute. Hi, so thank you, Commissioner Doran. So currently all city facilities are currently closed, so staff is not in the building accepting applications. We are looking how to roll out our services in a remote fashion to do more online submittal of applications. At this time, our building division and our planning division are not actively taking in applications. We are looking to roll that out in the near future.
Thank you.
Deanna, is residential construction considered an essential service? Are people allowed, if they have a project underway, to continue to work on that project, contractors?
Sure. So there's I know there's been a lot of conversation and a lot of potential confusion. So there's a couple of different buckets. So I think the state guidance was that all construction could occur. The county guidance was limited to housing construction and emergency construction and some public works projects. And then last Thursday, following a city council closed session, there was guidance from our city manager that all construction, regardless of the type, so all commercial and residential, would cease. So that is the city's guidance, or the city's order is that we would no construction at this time. There are some exceptions that could be made through our city manager's office, who's also our executive in our emergency operations center, and those will be considered on a case-by-case basis. There are emergency situations that require some construction for safety issues.
So there's other municipalities that may not have a stop work order. So by way of example, I don't know what Belmont's doing, but Belmont could be continued construction. We've decided as a municipality to not allow continuation of construction. So it's a municipality by municipality basis. Is that how it is?
That is correct. Each jurisdiction is able to implement their own order, so long as it's, I guess, not less restrictive. It could be more restrictive.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff under reports and announcements from my fellow commissioners? Seeing none, I will progress to general public comment. This is item D on this evening's agenda. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda and items listed under consent calendar. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to any non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. So I will look towards staff to advise whether there's any general public comment items this evening.
Hello.
Hi, this is Judy again. I do believe we had one public comment come in via email, and I'll ask Vaughn to share that with you now. Thank you, Vaughn. And for our attendees, so members that are calling in, there is a green hand on your screen. If you could click that if you are here to participate in public comment for this item, which is public comment. I'll give you a couple of, maybe a minute here to use that hand feature.
I will also add that this public comment, item D on this evening's agenda, is for items that are non-agendized. So for instance, if you're looking to give public comment on either item F1 or F2, in other words, other agenda items, at that particular time for that agenda item, I will call for public comment. Right now we're looking for public comment should you have a comment about something which is not on the agenda.
Thank you for clarifying, Chair Barnes. And I see no hands raising on our attendees, so I will turn this meeting back over to the chair.
Thank you. Seeing no public comment being presented and no virtual hands being raised, I will close public comment at this time and proceed to the consent calendar. This is consent calendar E1, approval of the minutes from the February 24th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. I'll be looking for motions or any revisions.
Before we do take that motion, is there any public comment from our attendees on the consent calendar, which is minutes? Seeing none, proceed with the motion.
Commissioner Riggs. Can you unmute yourself, please? Commissioner Riggs.
I would like to move approval.
Great. So we have a first from Commissioner Riggs, looking for a second. Commissioner Ducardi.
I will second.
We have a thumbs up and a second. We have a first from Riggs, second from DeCarty to approve consent calendar. All in favor, please show your webcam. Let the record show that we've got Riggs, DeCarty, Kennedy, Doran, Kale, all voting in the affirmative. That is unanimous for tonight's attendees. Moving from there, we're going to move to item F on tonight's agenda. This is the public hearing portion. The first item we have is F1. This is a use permit and architectural control for 1700 Marsh Road. Request for a use permit and architectural control to construct a new warehouse building for vehicle and equipment storage at an existing sanitary sewer district facility on a U unclassified parcel. Good evening. Is this Mr. Turner? Who do we have this evening? Mr. Paz, good evening.
Yes, staff has no updates to the staff report at this time. We are available for questions.
Great. Any clarifying questions to staff with regards to this agenda item?
No.
Mr. Riggs.
Through the chair, I wasn't able to hear Commissioner Riggs.
He is fussing with that's a technical term, fussing with the microphone to get on, but we have lost him. Commissioner Doran, you
I am on my phone. My challenge was to clear the screen box away from the microphone controls.
Okay, awesome. You're recognized.
So thank you. Now, I wanted to ask through the chair to staff, the issue is the potential future of the building type out there on the marsh. So currently we are saying that a very large Butler building is acceptable because it is compatible with the other industrial buildings. However, parks used to have rather carefully designed buildings, everything from water pumps to bathrooms, because they were parks. Is this area in such a way separated from Bayfront Bedwell and expected to remain that its architecture is not of any meaning?
So, through the chair, the site is separate and apart from the park, and so I think the thinking was that the consistency of the buildings at that site would make this an acceptable use and an acceptable building to be placed on this site. And I'll look to Deanna, maybe if she has more to add.
Hi, thank you. I don't have anything more to add at this time.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Doran.
Yeah, through the chair, I would just like to confirm that this building is subject to architectural controls by the Planning Commission. There's a discussion of that in the staff report, and I believe that is the conclusion it comes to, but I just want to confirm that for the record.
Through the chair, I can confirm that architectural control is required for this building.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kale.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I just had one question about the flood elevation. Flood elevation is at 11 feet. and for some reason this building is less than that, is there any reason why this can't be raised up to meet the flood elevation requirement?
Through the chair, the project has been reviewed by the city's engineering division, and in communication with city engineers, the applicant has discussed that there is a future project that will be coming online, and then they're also aware of I believe it's the risk associated with building at the levels that they are proposing. And in their presentation that we may ask them to clarify that a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Looking for any additional commissioner comments? Seeing none, we will proceed to hear from the applicant. Good evening. We don't have audio as of yet.
Rich, are you able to turn on your microphone?
Oh, it was on. I was just muted by the organizer. So,
Oh, sorry.
No worries. So I guess I'm waiting for someone to allow me to take control.
So I think you, let me see.
Okay, I have it now.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present this project to you tonight. This is for the West Bay Sanitary District Metal Storage Building Project out at their Flow Equalization and Resource Recovery Facility. I'm joined tonight by Phil Scott, the district manager, and with him is Bill Kitajima, the district's project manager. And so through this presentation, I'm going to introduce the sanitary district to you, discuss their essential services they provide, their service area, and the need for this project.
And would you be so kind as to tell us your name, please, and your role?
Yes, sorry. My name is Rich Loretta. I'm an engineering consultant to the district.
I'm sorry, please say your last name again.
Loretta, L-A-U-R-E-T.
Good evening.
Good evening. So just to introduce you to the West Bay Sanitary District, their wastewater collection and conveyance system service to the city of Menlo Park, Atherton, town of Portola Valley, and areas of East Palo Alto, Woodside, and unincorporated San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. The district owns and maintains 210 miles of sewer mains and 12 pump stations. And in order to provide service for that large of an area, you can imagine the fleet that would be required to do that job. The next bulleted item is the district owns a flow utilization and resource recovery facility on the north end of Bayfront Park. Their headquarters are actually at the corner of Burgess and Laurel. It's a pretty constrained site. So for years, they've been storing material out at their, for just to shorten it, their FERF. And so, and just the use of the FERF is under normal flow conditions, flow goes to a pump station right at the entrance to Bayfront Park. It's called the Menlo Park Pump Station. In a normal flow condition, it conveys flows to the treatment plant over in Redwood City. But in certain storm events, you know, where the force main to the plant or the wastewater treatment plant itself hits the capacity, their capacity, water has to be diverted somewhere. You know, in some cities and towns, it ends up in streets. But the district does own a flow equalization facility where wastewater is stored until the wastewater treatment plant has the capacity to catch up, and at that time, wastewater is sent back to the treatment plant. So a description of the FERF is, it was previously the wastewater treatment plant for Menlo Park. It is currently used for flow equalization wastewater management, and storage of district materials and equipment. The facility has 3 basins for needs, primarily it goes to pond 1, but there are other 2 ponds that are available in case that hits capacity. To note, there are existing structures on site. Some are in use and some are not, and we'll go over that. And the project includes the construction of a metal storage building. The project site is on a separate 20-acre parcel north of Bedwell Park. And just for reference, the Menlo Park pump station is shown at the entrance into Bayfront Park, Bayfront Expressway and Marsh Road and US Highway 101, just for reference to the project location. Sorry, it's jumpy. Just to introduce you to the FERF and the 3 ponds that I talked about earlier. The primary pond is closest to the entrance to the site, and there are 2 other ponds available. There's a cluster of buildings here, some are in use and some are not, and we'll go over that. And also there's an area that's designated for wetlands planning for a nearby restoration project. So the site has been used for storage for years, for localization for years. And so with the equipment set up on site, there is a need to cure and store those materials. Zooming into the existing buildings, and you can see in red where the new storage building is proposed. It's adjacent to an existing metal storage building. It'll be similar in architecture, and that will be metal building, gray in color. Also on site is a pump station maintenance building where, should any of the 12 pump stations the district maintains need pump repair, pumps are sent out to are repaired here on site. There are retired facilities for the water treatment plant that are on site, a couple of digest old plant works. And also shown here is the area where equipment and material storage is currently. Now, recently, I'll say recently, in the last 5 years, the district that has experienced vandalism and theft on site. And the new storage building will securely house district equipment currently stored at the site. And not to mention, as far as life cycle of equipment, a stored piece of equipment lasts much longer than one that's open to the environment, especially out there. So couple of needs for them is just is to prevent theft and vandalism, but also to protect their assets. This is a site plan of the building, just to give you a sense of the scale. Sorry, it's really jumpy. The building is 65 feet by 80 feet. I think it's calculated to 5,200 square feet. Again, it's a metal building. And associated with that will be some site grading, just to give some vehicular access to the building, and also some ramps that go up to the building. Now, the finished floor of the building, we understand, is lower than the finished floor. It is matching the finished floor of the existing building out there, and actually the existing pump maintenance building as well. There is a project that the district is undertaking now. It's currently in the project description phase of the project, and that is to flood protect the entire facility. So that will be the means to protect this area from we understand that. We had a comment through review processes, and we're going to put some vents in there that are at an elevation that allows that we understand that the engineering department requires. And so that we understand there's risks in doing it this way, but ultimately there will be a project that will flood protect the entire site. And the building will have doors for equipment. The district expects to park vehicles within the metal storage building, trailers, and equipment that is currently stored on site. The building height is a little short of 24 feet to allow the trucks to be able to have clearance to enter the building. So just a few further notes. The middle building is for equipment storage, a warehouse, and it won't result in any additional traffic because the equipment's already out there, and so there's no plan to introduce new staff. It's really just to protect equipment that's already out there. To note, this site is an active work site, as mentioned, for localization and equipment storage. And the building will help with the equipment, storing them and provide a longer useful life. And there will be no additional peak hour trips to the site, and the district will continue to schedule trips to the site during off-peak hours to avoid traffic, and that benefits both the city and the district. Nobody wants us in traffic, especially along Bayfront. And the site also serves as district localization, and it has been doing that for the last 40 years, and will do that even after the developmental building is constructed. So thank you again for the opportunity to present this project to you. And we're open to any questions. And I think Phil Scott might be muted right now too. So if there's any questions, he can answer as well.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, that's the conclusion of your presentation, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Looking for any commissioner clarifying questions to the applicant? Commissioner Kale.
First, a quick question. Is the existing metal building going to remain, or will that be removed?
The existing metal building will remain.
Okay. And then I understand that you'll be doing some flood protection by adding the vents, et cetera, but why not raise the pad elevation in order to just avoid all of that completely and just get it out of the flood zone and solve it that way?
Well, there's also some grading conform issues that come along with that, especially as it the siting of the warehouse is efficient for operations, and being that it's in close proximity to the existing warehouse, and also it's about 40 feet away from the edge of the pond, but in order to slope down there will lead to a little excess slope. And so we like I mentioned, we understand the risk, but there is a project that's coming up to flood protect the entire facility, and that would be the means to protect that building as well as the others that are out there.
So the concern is grading, and that you'd have to do additional grading, and you don't want to do that so close to the ponds. Is that correct?
The pond, but also existing facilities that are out there as well, like the existing metal building that will remain, and so yes, that's that, and also the fact that we are going to flood protect the site eventually.
Okay, thanks for your explanation. Seems like you have enough space out there in order to raise the building and make the grading work, but I understand your explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner DeCardi.
I could follow on Commissioner Kale's comment. Thank you for the presentation. Really appreciate it, especially in these circumstances. Could you describe a little bit more the timing of that broader flood protection effort? When will it happen, and what does it likely entail? And what's the purpose of that broader flood protection? Is it for the facilities, or is it also, I assume, for the 3 ponds? But if you could explain that in more detail.
It is, and so I'll go ahead and I'll pull up. Sorry, like I said, it's a little chumpy. I apologize. Get the slide. Does it best. I'm sorry. So the thought is we've actually met with some agencies regarding flood protecting the site already. We met with Army Corps, Water Quality, so they're familiar with our plans out there. What it includes is, all right, along the west side, because we are so close to flood slough, there will be some sheet piling that will be along this edge up to a certain elevation. Along the north side, where there's a little bit more room for grading, the thought was to create what the agencies call a living shoreline, what we're calling a horizontal levee. that basically fills out into the area. The reason is because with global warming and sea level rise, there is lots of habitat if we were just to create a sheep pellet along this edge, which was an option, but with the filling of this area, still or along the top edge. Along the east side and the south sides of the site, we'll be raising the grade so that it's providing flood protection in these edges. And so, and that project is, like I mentioned, is going to go through an EIR process, which we anticipate being completed end of this year, early next, and at which point we'll start.
Commissioner, this is Vaughn. Nick Figueres just sent you a email instruction, so if you would like to call in, because we can't hear you. So any question, please call me back. My number is 650-996-7972, or shoot me an email, or just raise your hand.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
So the project will we hope to be in construction in that mid-21.
Through the chair.
Yes, please.
So what sea level rise protection projections are you incorporating into that plan? And what, like, how high do these walls have to be at this point?
The county's recommendation for flood protection is additional 3 feet. Actually, it's elevation 13 is what we're thinking out there. Now, the top of the levees now are about elevation 10. So along this edge, the top of the levee would be likely 5 feet above grade, and it wouldn't be along the north side. So on the west side there, you would see a levee that's about, sheet pile that's about 5 feet above grade.
And through the chair, just one last question. So the pad for this proposed building, is that at an elevation that is similar then to level of the primary equalization storage pond when it is full? Or what's the difference in elevation between the two?
Can you ask that question again? Sorry.
So the pad, the elevation for the proposed building, is it at the same elevation as the pond, or is it higher or lower on the site?
It's higher.
By how many feet?
It's higher by about a foot.
By a foot. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions for the applicant before I call for public comment and bring it back up for additional commissioner discussion? Seeing no other commissioners with any additional questions for the applicant, I will proceed to call for public comment on this item. We have public comment. Looking for, is that Judy?
I'm coming on now. Just going to ask our folks participating as members of the public, please use that green hand that you should see on your screen if you have a public comment on this item. I do apologize for the background noise. Staff is working to silence that, but we'll give it maybe 15 more seconds for a hand raise on this item. I will also at this time ask if Deanna or Vaughn has any public comment that might have been received from our email system or our voicemail system. Okay, I see no public comment on this item, Chair. I return the meeting to you.
Thank you. Seeing and receiving no public comment, I will close public comment and bring it back up to the virtual dais for commissioner discussion. Commissioner Doran. Mike. Mike, please, Commissioner Doran.
Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
I am underwhelmed with the architecture of this building. To say it has any architecture is kind of an exaggeration, I think. I understand that it may look better than storing equipment out in the open, but that's about the only advantage I can see of this building. The staff report and their conclusion on the top page 3 says that they believe that the building is in keeping with the existing industrial buildings and structures at the site. And I guess, I agree with that as far as it goes. But this whole area is changing rapidly. And this site is right across the street, right across Bayfront Expressway from, the Waihannon development with Class A office space going up. And very close to the Nia Hotel, very close to another proposed hotel at Marsh and Haven, and new apartment complexes on Haven. So, there's a lot of stuff going on in this general vicinity, and this building will definitely be visible from these buildings. As you look out from the office building in particular, you're looking at the bay, and in between you and the bay will be this storage building, I think, for some time to come. I mean, I don't know how long the building could be expected to last, but it's not temporary. So I think that I would like to see something built there that's not just compatible with the existing industrial buildings, but that's compatible with the greater neighborhood and what's being built there, which is some very nice architecture and some very expensive buildings, some very expensive office space and apartments. And I don't think that this building is going to be contributing to the views from those places. And I would like to see something built better. I think Commissioner Riggs alluded to an earlier day when Public Works did involve architecture and were something that people would like to look at. And, if you think about the buildings for the sanitary district in San Francisco, they're right next to the San Francisco Zoo. I think that's a good example of what was done in the previous era. And, I would certainly like to see something better than this done with this site.
Thank you. Commissioner Kennedy. You need to activate your mic. Can't hear you. Can't hear you through the phone either. Not yet. Not yet.
Through the chair. This is Sean here with technical support. We're still having difficulty getting Commissioner Kennedy's audio signal connected. We're still working on it. Sorry about that.
And by way of connection, I'm calling in, for instance, from my phone. Has she been unsuccessful to call in to the dial-in number from her phone?
We're working on getting those instructions to her, and unfortunately, we seem to still not be able to make the connection at this moment, but we're definitely still working on it right now.
Okay, you could just say, you could give her the number verbally right now, because it appears as though she can hear us. And we could solve it right now online.
Yes, as soon as we can get that on this screen, the number was provided to her, but I don't have it in front of me. We'll read it out in just a moment. Thank you so much for your patience.
Okay, so with that in mind, Commissioner Kennedy, I'll put you on hold for a moment and go to Commissioner Riggs. Commissioner Riggs. Commissioner Riggs. Cannot hear you either. You need to unmute.
The organizer is clicking me between muted and unmuted. I think you can hear me now.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, sorry, it's an organizer limitation. I wanted to suggest that Commissioner Kennedy email the chair with her question. Would that be helpful?
Yes, I looked. I mean, let me go right here. I just picked it up when I logged in, and it was door number 1 was do the computer audio. Door number 2 is call a number, and it may be specific to her with an audio pin. I'm not sure.
We're still working on the phone number for Commissioner Kennedy. Just wanted to give all of the commissioners an update regarding the mics. With the feedback that we were receiving, we did have to mute all mics. So as of now, we will be controlling your mics until we can get the feedback corrected as well. And Commissioner Kennedy, I assure you that we are working diligently to get you the information you need. I apologize for the glitch.
We'll put a pin in Commissioner Kennedy and recognize Commissioner Kale.
So I appreciate Commissioner Doran's input, and I'm a little surprised I'm about to say this, but this is an industrial site, and I guess I'm not really expecting too much from this facility. I just read recently that only 5% of the buildings in the country are designed by architects, and a lot of them are these industrial buildings by this company, which is Star Building Systems, I believe. So, and if it was any closer to Bayfront or in an area in Bayfront Park, I would be more concerned. But I was just at Bayfront the other day, and that, this whole facility is pretty far out there and very unvisible, I guess if that's a word. And I just have, I would love to see something more architecturally pleasing, but I'm not too concerned from what's been proposed. I believe I saw that there was a fence proposed, and I wish I could tell what the height of that was, but again, I'm just don't have a lot of expectations of what this building is supposed to be and what it's doing. So I can support it as proposed.
Thank you for that. Looking for any additional commissioner comment, and still wanting to get Commissioner Kennedy in on this item. Commissioner Riggs.
Yes, thank you. So I would like to note first that I'm sure this building and the adjacent existing buildings can be seen from the upper levels of the Bohannon office buildings, from the Nia Hotel, and no doubt from the proposed hotel. That said, however, from the first 2 of those, it's on the far side of the park. And lacking some input from the Bohannon team, it does not appear that this is a big factor. So I hesitate to ask for anything more in the way of architecture, as much as I might like to. So I can support this as proposed.
Thank you. Commissioner Kennedy.
Commissioner, our Chair Barnes, I'm going to try a workaround. I will put the commissioner on my speakerphone and hopefully she can communicate that way. Sorry, thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Andrew, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Great. So what I wanted to say was, I agree with Commissioner Doran, and I also understand Commissioner Kale's perspective, but I do think we hold applicants to fairly high scrutiny in terms of the architectural choices they're making. And it wasn't that many decades ago that we looked at all public infrastructure as leading the way for our communities. And if we let public works off the hook, I think that it sets a really bad precedent for future buildings, even if they are industrial. So I think that this design falls very, very short of anything that we should approve, even though it is in an industrial location. It is on the bayfront. It is in a it will say a lot about us as a commission if we approve something that is, in my opinion, not worthy of the community that's being built in. That's all.
Thank you.
Commissioner, do you want to stay with me in case you want to say something else?
Commissioner Kennedy, if you stay on the audio, but please stop your video if you're done with your comment.
I can't hear you.
He's asking you to turn off the video if you are.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner DeCardi.
Yeah, this is just since it looks like we've got a sort of divergent set of opinions, I will add mine into this mix. Based on the comments, I'm more in line with where I believe Commissioners Kale and Riggs are headed. I certainly appreciate the points that Commissioners Doran and Kennedy have said. I completely agree with the history and that public works projects should actually look good. I think they send a really good signal when they do. But for me, a broader question is going to be the longer term use of this site for its intended purpose. The projected sea level rise that they're utilizing right now, I don't believe is in line with what the latest understanding is on the science of climate change. And so that raises all sorts of questions about asking them to put more money and more effort and time into a building that might actually be part of a site that needs to be completely rethought. I'm very interested to understand exactly what long-term flood protections over what period of time when this comes back later on. It feels to me that potentially the project is out of sequence, that it would be better to actually understand the long-term question here first, as opposed to the short-term question. But for me, that actually then says, well, at least the short-term solution shouldn't be an enormous sunk cost if it's not going to end up being viable into the future. And so for that, and then the reasons that the other commissioners have outlined, I'd be inclined to improve the project.
Thank you. I will weigh in with my opinion. I think the project is appropriate for its use and location. I do hear the thoughts on the architectural control piece of it. I think the distance associated with the building and how far it is potentially, well, how far it is from potentially who would see it from a distance. I don't know that there are architectural elements that would materially change the function, would materially change the visuals of the warehouse from the distances that we're contemplating from those surrounding buildings. So I think when you have this building for this use, I think it's appropriate, and there's not a lot you can do architecturally to make it materially different from the distances we're talking about. That makes sense, and also do it within a budget that, I want to respect the sanitary district's, costs in building this. So for that reason, based on the utility of this and based on where it is and how it's tucked into the site, I am making a motion to approve this project per the staff report. Commissioner Doran.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm actually persuaded by Commissioner DeCarty. If you view this as a temporary structure, then you don't want to spend any more money on it. You have to. I think that probably is the right way to look at this. I hope we're not still looking at this building after it's roasted 50 years from now, but I think I'm prepared to support the project, so I'll second the motion.
We've got a first from Barnes, second from Doran to approve this project per the staff report. Any additional comments from any commissioners before I call for a vote? With that, I am calling for a vote. All in favor of approving per the staff report? Please show your video. Okay, so we've got Commissioner Kale, and voting in the affirmative is Commissioner Kale, Commissioner Riggs, Commissioner DeCarty, and Commissioner Doran. Voting against the project? I'm sorry, did I say Commissioner Riggs? Yep. Voting against the project? Abstaining from the project, from the vote on the project? Commissioner Kennedy. The motion passes. Congratulations. We'll move now to F2, which is a use permit and variance for 11 Greenwood Place. So before we progress to this, I'll acknowledge that Commissioner Kale is going to be recusing himself from this item. And I don't mean to steal your thunder, Ori. Let me, so mechanics-wise, Commissioner Kale is going to both mute and, well, I'll let you say that. I'll progress with the reading of the item, and then we'll go into staff comments, and then confirm that Commissioner Kale is in recusal. So this is a request for a use permit to demolish an existing one-story single-family residence and construct a new two-story residence on a substandard lot with regard to minimum lot depth, and area in the R1 use, single-family urban residential district. The proposal includes a request for a variance to build within the required 43-foot, 6-inch front setback established by the subdivision ordinance. One heritage white birch tree has been requested for removal as part of this project. Good evening, Mr. Paz. Mr. Smith. Not yet.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now.
Okay. I do have a couple of updates for this project. The first one is that we received 2 items of correspondence, and I will pull those up for you to review. And are you able to see those at the moment?
Not yet.
All right.
I can see them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're up now.
So okay. The first item is from a neighbor who is Larry Kale, and there are a couple of items that he's requested in relation to the proposal. The first one is that he has a concern about the overall height of the building and the floor to ceiling heights that are proposed at 10 feet for the first floor and 9 feet for the second floor. And recommending 9-foot ceilings for the first floor and 8 feet for the second floor, and vaulted ceilings at the second floor as allowed by the roof plan. And then the second item is wood windows rather than vinyl, as was shown in the plans. And then I'll scroll to the second email, which was received today. And that email indicates concerns as well about the height of the overall residence and impacts on the neighboring property. And then I do have one final update to the staff report, which is that the plans that were included in the staff report indicate that the windows will be vinyl, but the applicant and I corresponded yesterday, and they wish to go now with wood windows instead. So that's for the commission to discuss, and then if the project is approved, we could certainly condition it as well to include the wood windows rather than vinyl on the building permit plans. And those are the items that I have, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Smith? Seeing no questions, I will proceed to invite the applicant to tell us about their project. Can't hear you yet, no.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for putting this together. I had 2 other planning commissions scheduled that both got canceled, so it was great to hear that you guys were going to continue and do your best to get us online. I am Michelle Miner. I'm the designer for 11 Greenwood Place, and I was hoping that you guys can make me the presenter and put the PDFs that I gave you up so that I could use those. If not, you can make my screen the presenter and I have them as well, so that I could talk with them with the presentation. Is that possible? Okay.
Tom, are you able to bring that presentation to the forefront and hand over mouse and keyboard to Michelle, please?
Yes, so I believe we're on Michelle's screen now as the presenter.
Okay, so can you guys see my screen with the floor plan or the cover sheet?
Yes, we can see the plan.
Perfect. Yes. Okay, thank you. Yes, so as I said, I'm Michelle Miner. I'm the designer for Caroline and Alejandro Goyen, and I designed this home for them and their family. They have 2 small children. Will be living and working in Menlo Park. The home was designed as a 2-story craftsman home. And as you can see with this, let's see, with the lot shape, it was a very big challenge to try and fit a home on this lot, which is why we are asking for the variance. Under the code, we would have to be back at 41 feet, which is clear back in here. You actually can't build a home of any significant size without it. So that's why we're asking for the variance. We did try in doing this design to take into consideration, actually I'm going to stay back at that side plan, to take into consideration the neighbors greatly. I know that both the correspondence that came in today were from neighbors. One is the one on the right hand side, and the other one was this neighbor on the left hand side. They are both 1-story homes. We did our best to stay away from them as best as we can, given the strict restrictions of setbacks and the pie-shaped lot. This is the nearest corner of the house here on the right, and our upper floor is approximately 23 feet away from that nearest corner. One thing that you can't see in here, because I was just asked to show these 3 trees, but one thing that you can't see is that this neighbor has trees all along here blocking the view and privacy from our upper floor. So it really shouldn't be an issue as far as what they can see or privacy issues. On top of that, if I go to the elevations, this is the right side elevation. I have no windows that have lower sill heights. So beyond that, there would be no privacy issues. And I also have a very small, frontage on that side. It's like 20 feet that faces his property, and chose to do a hip roof. Likewise, on the other side, we have higher sills on the other side. These are both bathroom windows. This one would be obscure. This one's over a tub where people wouldn't really be standing in it to be able to see out of it. And the plate heights on this side are 8-foot plates at this portion. So this one actually is not intruding in the daylight plane so much. Actually, neither of them intrude into the daylight plane. They both take into consideration the daylight plane. This, going back to the site plan, you can see this right here is the next door neighbor's garage. So if there is any shading or shadowing on that property, we would be doing on this little pop out of a garage. Also, the maximum height here is shown in this dashed line of 28 feet. We are staying underneath that by, let's see, 1 foot 4 inches. So trying not to hit all the maximums that we are allowed to go by zoning. We did try and stay under those, and as well as the front setback, where everybody in the neighborhood would have typically 20-foot setbacks. We stayed at almost 22 feet back, 21 foot 10. So like I said, given the constraints and everything, and trying to be cognizant of the neighbors and the fact that we are building a 2-story home, we felt like that we worked very hard to take all of that into consideration. One thing to note in this suburban park neighborhood, there is approximately 200 homes, and over 50% of them have gone through some type of renovation and remodel. In fact, when I first came to interview with my clients, I was struck by the homes. They're beautiful. The vast majority, or vast, can't think of the word. They're very different. They're all very different homes, which was like refreshing to see, but very large. But I drove into that neighborhood thinking, wow, this neighborhood is really stunning. So I was very happy to be able to work in this neighborhood. The one other thing that I wanted to mention is that the neighbor on the right is also the architect of who is complaining and asking us to do 9 feet on the bottom and 8 feet on the top. And he also was the architect for 6 Greenwood Place. And the walls were 9 feet and 9 feet on 6 Greenwood Place. Their lot is smaller than ours and still is the same size because of the, allowable 2,800 square feet, as well as he was the architect on 15 Greenwood Place. And from my understanding, those are 9.5 and 8.5 foot plates. So to ask us to go down to 9 feet and 8 feet is something that I feel is not reasonable, especially given that the norm in today's world is to have higher ceilings. In the time when these houses were built, it was less, but as I said, at least 50% of these homes have been rebuilt to have higher ceilings. I think that's pretty much it for this here. I really appreciate your taking the time to do this again, and I'll just open it up to any questions.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions to the applicant related to her proposal? Excuse me, that proposal. Commissioner DeCardi.
I did want to follow up on the last point about the ceiling heights. I appreciate the norms, and I appreciate you bringing up comparisons in the neighborhood. But I guess I do want to understand, what is the hardship in terms of your client's enjoyment of their home, if in fact the ceiling heights were reduced by a little bit? If you could just explain a little bit more the necessity of having them, in addition to, which I appreciate the helpful point about that it is a norm and that there are others in the neighborhood.
I don't know that I could say there is a hardship, but it is the desire of the clients. And we did, work very hard to keep it under, like I said, under the maximum heights, under the daylight planes, staying with all the zoning ordinances. And it was their desire to have it. In fact, they interviewed quite a few architects who had built in Suburban Park who had said, yeah, we're doing 10-foot ceilings as a regular in this area. So she was very confident that she could have that because that was her desire. She'd been to many open houses, been to different homes to see what was their desire for their home that they're wanting to build. So it was, I couldn't say it was a hardship, but it is their desire.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I have one more question for you, and then actually through the chair to staff, if that's okay. So my question to you would be, the neighbor did mention in her correspondence that I believe the dormer does actually extend into the daylight plane. And you had said in your presentation that there wasn't intrusion into the plane. So I just wonder how you suggest I appreciate you pointed out the trees and the distance, but I wonder how you suggest that we take that under consideration.
Yes, you are right. That is something that is allowed by zoning, is for the dormer to stick into the daylight plane. And also I wanted to let you know, we did a neighborhood outreach meeting. I actually went up to the park at the entrance and I spoke to that neighbor, Lori, at great length back in November. I did some other drawings for her and emailed them to her, and then I didn't hear back from her. In fact, I didn't hear back till today with that issue. So that was a little bit, I was caught off guard with this. So I did a little bit more of a solar study for her. And what I discovered is that if I don't know if, can we turn me back on to I don't have it on here, but if we turn it back on, you had to be basically 14 feet away for it to actually cause any, oh, thank you. So you had to be 14 feet away I think I shut it, for the solar, for the shadowing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, actually, I'm going to stay on the site plan. I apologize for that. So you needed to be 14 feet away for any shadowing to happen. So the daylight plane is a little bit hard to show. So this corner to this corner right here is 13 feet 9. So if indeed that little lower corner was going to shadow, that could hit it. By the time you get to this portion of the house, it can't shadow it. And then by the time you're back here, you're much further away. I think you're almost 20 feet away. So there actually can't be any shadowing, but because the lots, kind of splay out, the daylight plane as it is required to be shown on the plans is actually a little bit deceiving. So there would be little to no shadowing on her house as it sits.
Okay, thank you for that. Then through the chair, one question along these lines for staff, if I may.
Yes, please.
So, Mr. Smith, I guess my question for you is, if an applicant like this one presents a building that is allowable by the total overall height, how do you take this into consideration? So would there ever be an instance where a proposed 2-story home with 1-story homes next to them that have like a 10 and a 9-foot ceiling, which are higher than the houses next to them, let's say, and comes underneath the total allowable height? Would there be is there any circumstance where you would would deny that because it was somehow too tall. This is not the first time we've had these come before us, and so I'm just interested in what your assessment or your insight is. What rules are you using as you think about fairness across applicants in these types of situations?
So I would say if it was a building permit application for this residence, there would be the 28 feet maximum height, and staff would just be verifying that they are below that maximum. There's nothing in the zoning ordinance that says that if a proposed two-story residence is surrounded by single-family homes, that there's a different height restriction that would come into play. So really, it's just the flat adherence to the maximum height would be what we're looking at.
Terrific. Thank you. And to the chair, thank you. No more questions right now.
Thank you. And for clarification to the applicant, the plate height on the first floor is 10 and on the second floor is 9. Is that correct?
That's correct. With the exception of the left-hand side, which is 8.
The left. Show me where that is.
Let's see. That is right here. So from this point over to the right, this is all 9-foot plates. Oh, whoops. I was off. Show my screen. Okay. So from this point over is 9 feet, and then this point over here, which is the master bathroom closet area, those are all 8 feet.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Before I call for public comment, any other commissioners have a question for the applicant? Wait, I'm sorry. Judy, did we call for public comment already?
We have not.
We have not. Okay, great. So looking for any other commissioner comments. Seeing no commissioners with any additional comments, I will now open up the floor for public comment and look to Judy to provide us if there's any comments to be made.
Thank you, Chair Barnes. So at this time, for our folks that are calling in from members of the public, please use that green hand, should be on your screen, to raise your hand, and we'll be able to call on you. Open your mics for public comment. For staff, if we have any voicemail or email public comment for this item, if you could present that on the screen now, we'd appreciate it. And we'll give this just a couple more seconds to see if the public raises a hand. Seeing none, I will turn the meeting back to the chair.
Great. Having no public comment, I will close that portion, bring it back up to the virtual dais for additional commissioner commentary. I will then offer my thoughts on the project. For me, the variance in the context of the project is fine. It's certainly acceptable. I note that the applicant made a concession on the windows. And the other point or issue as it relates to the ceiling heights or the plate heights being at 10 and 9, given how this is cited and given the thoughts of the neighbors adjacent to the property, I believe that a 9-foot first floor plate height is perfectly acceptable. I do get the desire of the applicant, but I think the trade-off for the variance, and I think the ability to stack the project across the front of the lot, I think it's a concession that the applicant can make on this project to go with 9 and 9, which would reduce the height of the building by a foot. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the project as per the staff report, inclusive of the variance with two conditions, one being conditioned on the wood-clad windows, two being conditioned on 9-foot first and second floor, reducing the, well, I won't be that prescriptive, reducing the overall height of the project by a foot. And if the applicant chooses to do a 9-foot on the first floor, that's their prerogative, but the overall height gets reduced by a foot. I'll put that motion on the floor.
Could I get some clarification on that?
Yes, please. Sure.
So you said reducing the overall height by a foot by reducing the lower floor to 9 feet, or conditional upon reducing the lower floor to 9 feet?
So the overall height of the project is reduced by a foot. My motion is not prescriptive as to where that foot comes from in terms of first or second. The overall project comes down a foot, and I leave it to the applicant to, at their discretion, to figure out where to take that foot from.
Okay, and if we did reduce the lower floor to 9 feet, would you be okay if I bring that left portion that I had to bring down to 8 feet to clear the daylight plane? Would you be okay with me bringing that back up to being able to have the, the consistent plate height on the upper floor?
This is a little bit out of order, but yes, let's pursue this line. So I don't. So what you're saying, the left side, increasing that height to 9.
Yeah.
Would you show that on the drawing? What the impact is to the?
So
I'm assuming the second floor roof line goes up a foot. Is that correct?
Thank you. So if the whole house comes, let's just say right through this point right here, you took the whole house down a foot, that would allow that one line.
Pause. I'm sorry. Pause for one moment. Can the controls pull up I can't see the plan that you're referencing, the page that you're referencing on the.
Oh, it should be showing my screen. Are you seeing my screen?
I see you, but I don't see a screen.
Ms. Miner, you should have a control to share your screen.
Show my screen. Let's see if that worked. Do you see it now?
Not yet.
No one can see your screen. No one can see your screen. Click start. Screen. I don't know. It was working every time before that. Can you guys hit show screen again?
I think you have it. Oh, you did have it.
Did that work this time? Can you see my screen this time?
No.
No, what I see is, I see Commissioner Riggs, yourself, and myself. Is anyone, Commissioner Riggs, are you seeing a different view than me, or are you seeing 3 individuals?
No, I'm seeing the same view. It's the format that precedes when Ms. Miner's screen usually comes on, but it seems to be stopped at that point.
Yeah, and it's saying it on my side. It says stopped. No one can see your screen.
Does Tom Smith from staff have this presentation and able to share his screen?
He does have it. I don't.
Okay.
Can you do that, Tom?
And as a side note, I do believe we now have audio and video for Commissioner Kennedy. Commissioner Kennedy, can you confirm that for me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks so much.
So give me just one moment and I will pull up the plans, and then Michelle, just let me know where you would like me to navigate.
Okay, yeah, if you could go to the elevation page 9.
And Tom, if we're successful with having you share your screen and us being able to see it, you can actually give Michelle access to the keyboard and mouse.
Okay.
Perfect. Can you zoom in just a little bit, Tom?
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Perfect, that should be fine. So what I was saying, if you can all see this, is if I lower this whole lower floor right here, all these dash lines, of course, get to stay up. So I'm going to be well underneath daylight planes. I would love to bring this bathroom up to match the rest of the upper floor, just because I was, conceding to having to get it to 8 foot on that bathroom. And so if I do that, still the whole house comes down by a foot. The overall height comes down, the lower floor comes down. The only thing that would change was this one line right here, this one eve line.
Okay, so on the left-hand side, can you use your cursor to make sure I know exactly the area we're speaking about? You're on the left, there you are, on the left-hand side. And what you're saying is the overall height comes down a foot, but that what is currently 8-foot plate height goes to 9 foot in that area right there.
Yes, I would love that.
And what is the impact on daylight plane?
Nothing different than it is today. It would remain the same.
So,
but the overall height of the house would be the foot lower as you requested. And I do have the owner on text, and they're saying that would be fine. We can lower that. I'm just asking to be able to take the master bathroom up to meet the rest of the house.
Okay, let me put a pin in that. Thank you. I'll go to the other commissioners and hear comments as well. I appreciate your input on that.
Perfect, thank you.
Commissioner Riggs.
Yeah, thank you. I had a concern about this building, in part because it has so many gables, as you've heard me mention before, but it is, unfortunately, because of its location on the cul-de-sac, it is rather wedged between the two neighbors. And so I can appreciate the two neighbors asking for at least some reduction in height. I think the chair's suggestion to reduce the height but not be specific about what goes on inside properly reflects what would be reflective of the neighborhood interests, and I could support that. I will say regarding the bathroom gable, the fact that it was lower than the plate height of this large second floor facade was actually a benefit to the design. So I would be disappointed to lose that plate height differential, but I'm not inclined to press the issue. I'll leave that up to the maker or other commissioners to comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Doran.
Yeah, I think the concern with the intrusion of the daylight plane is with exactly this corner. So if there's a concern about the overall height of the building, that concern is most acute on this corner. So I would like to see, if the building height overall is being reduced by a foot, I would like to see this corner be reduced by the foot as well. I think that would be consistent with the concept of the chair's motion. I think that would also be, consistent with the desire of the neighbors.
Thank you. Looking for any additional commissioner comment? For clarification, we've got a first from Barnes. Commissioner Riggs did not, as I heard it, put forward a second. Clarify if that's incorrect.
I can second that, yes.
We've got a first from Barnes, a second from Riggs. As it currently stands, unamended, is to have the approval conditioned on the wood clad and the reduction of the overall height by 1 foot. As current, the maker's not dispositioned to allow for the 8-foot plate height on the left-hand side to go up and meet. Reasoning for that is I think it is a significant architectural detail. To Commissioner Doran's question or point, you can't really go to a 7-foot plate height in there to reduce that correspondingly. So for that reason, it's 1 foot off the overall height, but 8-foot plate height also remains in that left-hand side in the bathroom area. Looking for any other additional comments, Commissioner Doran.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, if you keep it at 8 foot, I'm not suggesting go to 7, but if you keep it at 8 foot in that bathroom and closet area, while the downstairs goes from 10 to 9, then you are reducing that corner by a foot. Whereas what the applicant is now asking for is, reducing the bottom floor by a foot, but bumping that corner up from 8 to 9 so that the intrusion into the daylight plane would be maintained at exactly the same place that it is now. If you keep that plate height at 8 foot on that corner, while you reduce the plate height in the first floor to 9 feet, then you reduce the intrusion into the daylight plane, and I think that's desirable.
Understood. Thank you. We're not being prescriptive on where the plate heights have to come down in any one area, leaving that to the applicant to determine. Commissioner Doran.
Well, I think you do need to be prescriptive of whether all of the heights of the building are coming down by a foot or only the maximum height of the building. Because if you say reduce the maximum height of the building by a foot, then I think you leave it open to interpretation, and the applicant would like to raise the plate height in that corner by a foot. So the maximum height of the building would be reduced by a foot, but it wouldn't reduce the intrusion into the daylight plane at all. So I think we do have to be prescriptive in that if you want all of the heights of the building reduced, they have to all be reduced, the maximum height reduced by a foot, but also this corner reduced by a foot.
Understood. This motion does not contemplate, this motion contemplates the maximum height coming down by a foot and not providing for the increase to the left-hand side. Looking for any other additional commissioner comment, and I'll call for a vote on this motion. Commissioner Riggs? Commissioner Riggs, you're up.
Reading for the organizer, okay. Just to clarify, if I believe what you meant to say was the overall height of the building reduces and you are leaving without comment the bathroom gable, whereas Commissioner Doran is saying as the overall building reduces, he would like to see the roof remain in its current references so that the bathroom comes down also the 1 foot. In other words, maintaining that differential in plate height. So I just wanted to make sure that was understood by all commissioners, that right now we're allowing with this motion, we're allowing the bathroom and its intrusion into the daylight plane to be stuck in space while the rest of the building lowers.
That is correct. Seeing no other commissioner comment, I will call for a vote on the motion by Barnes, seconded by Riggs. All in favor of the motion, please show your web cam. The records show that it is Commissioner Barnes, Kennedy, Riggs, all opposed to the motion. Commissioner Doran and Commissioner Riccardi. The motion carries 3-2. Congratulations. That finishes. Let me check in with staff. Mr. Smith, I apologize. When I see you, I normally check in with you. Are you? It's already passed, but I want to check in just to make sure there was no lack of clarity in the motion as you understood it in the vote. Mic on, please.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I have is that it'll be an overall reduction of the height of the building 1 foot, and we'll leave open whether or not the bathroom gable changes, and then moving to wood windows versus vinyl. So I believe is that accurate?
That is, and there was no allowance for the left-hand side, the bathroom plate to increase.
Okay, right, in height.
In height, correct.
Good. Got it.
Thank you. Okay, so that moves us through public hearing, the 2 items on the agenda, and taking us to informational items. This is item H on the agenda.
Chair Barnes?
H1. Yes.
I'd like to take this time to re-invite Commissioner Kale to the meeting, as he was recused from that item. Thank you.
Welcome back, Commissioner Kale. Taking us to H, informational items, and this is H1, future planning commission meeting schedule. And anything from staff.
Can you hear me?
Is that Deanna? Yes.
Yes. Hi, thank you. Before we move on to informational items, I just wanted to confirm the vote for the first item this evening. There was a question whether or not when Chair Barnes is reading back the votes, whether that your vote was formally taken. I know you made the motion, but just wanted to confirm your vote.
My vote was affirmative.
Okay, thank you. So that passed.
Thank you.
Then so that passed then 5-0-1 with Commissioner Kennedy abstaining.
Correct.
Okay, great. So just moving to H1, so future meetings. So the April 6th Planning Commission meeting, the intent is still to have it. We are determining what agenda items make sense to move forward on that April 6th agenda. It will be likely a virtual meeting. We will have an opportunity to debrief about how this meeting worked and how we may be able to improve it. So stay tuned on that. We don't have the items that are yet to be on it, but it could be a few single-family homes on that April 6th meeting.
So, question for you, Deanna. When, for instance, the 100 to 110 Terminal Avenue, which is a large project, and then 165 Jefferson again, when they get bounced, where do they go? Are they in the ether because it's a difficult forum for a study session, or was there a different reason?
I think those are, for our first virtual meeting, I think we wanted to try to have some ability to move forward with some items. The study sessions are a little bit more complicated, and these were more complex projects. So we wanted to do sort of a test run, if you will, with a few items first before trying to branch into larger, more complex projects, which with the study session, there's a lot more conversation, a lot more public input.
Yes, thank you. I agree. So they're out there, the applicants want to come back. It's a function of the planning department to figure out is this the appropriate forum, and if so, or how to tweak this to make it better or more appropriate for a study session. But they are coming back, correct?
That is to be determined. Both of those projects may come back in a different form. So the Belhaven Community Center Library may come before the commission as a regular item versus a study session. This is taking an opportunity for a check-in. So that may just come back to the commission for its recommendation to the city council at a future date. With respect to the Menlo Flats study session, they were asking to do a study session as not part of their 5 meetings for the SB 330. So we'll be connecting with the applicant to see if they still want to continue with that, or it may be they may forego it because there are limitations to the number of meetings that can happen with their project.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Looking to other, is that all from you, Deanna?
Yes.
Great. Looking to any fellow commissioners for final comment and informational items. Commissioner DeCarty. Mic on.
Evening, and to make this happen, extraordinarily great effort, and pleased to hear that we made the effort when other jurisdictions did not. And I'd like to thank Chair Barnes. I thought you did an excellent job navigating us through this evening. So thank you to you all.
Yeah, I think staff did a wonderful job. I know they're not doing this in San Jose, and I know big multifamily projects are trying to figure out what they're going to do. So thank you for leading us through this, staff. We really appreciate it. Second, Commissioner DeCarty's comment. So with that, and seeing no other commissioners, yeah, okay.
So sorry to interrupt, Chair, but we do have to open this up for public comment. I do have a few callers on the line. I don't have any hands raised, but I'd like to give them just a couple of seconds here if they have anything to comment on the info item.
Okay.
And same for staff, if anything came in that we can display. And again, seeing none, I turn the meeting back to the chair.
Thank you. And seeing no other commissioners with comments, I will gavel this virtual meeting to close at 8:49 p.m. Thank you.